What if I told you there's a scientific idea, one that was thrown out over 100 years ago, that might just hold the key to copying matter, traveling faster than light, and maybe even explaining the universe's biggest mysteries? Well, today we're diving into the Estel theory, a really bold and imaginative hypothesis that brings that forgotten concept roaring back to life. You see, for centuries, scientists were convinced that space was filled with this invisible substance called the ether. It was supposed to be the stuff that light waves traveled through. But then, in the early 20th century, a huge experiment failed to find it. And then Einstein came along with his theory of relativity, and boom, the ether was declared dead. It became a relic, something people just got wrong. Until now, that is. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with how this theory brings the ether back from the dead. Then we'll get into how it could act as this massive information field for the entire universe, which leads to some incredible ideas, like instantly duplicating matter and even creating faster-than-light travel bubbles. And finally, we'll look at how it tries to connect with some of the biggest puzzles in science today. Okay, first up, the return of the aether. And let me tell you, this is not your great-great-grandfather's ether. Nope. The Estel theory reimagines it as something way more fundamental, way more powerful. So the core idea here is that this new ether isn't just some passive, invisible goo that light moves through. Not at all. In this theory, it's an active, all-encompassing field that literally carries the blueprints for everything in the universe. We're talking information, matter, energy, the whole shebang. It's supposed to be the very fabric of reality itself. Right, so if this field is carrying all this information, you've got to be asking, how? How does that even work? How is reality itself actually encoded in this thing? The theory gives it a name, the Estel aether. And maybe the best way to think about it is like a cosmic hard drive, or a universal memory field. It's everywhere, it fills everything, and it's constantly interacting with every single particle, recording and storing all the quantum data for everything that has ever existed or will exist. And that brings us to this next concept, the etheric signature. The theory says that every single object, from a tiny atom to a whole planet, leaves its own unique imprint on this ether. This signature, which they represent with that symbol, is basically like a cosmic QR code. It's a quantum blueprint that holds every last bit of information about that object, its position, its momentum, its spin, absolutely everything. Okay, you really want to lean in for this part, because this is where it starts to get really wild. If every object has this unique information signature, could you just read it and then build a copy? Well, according to this theory, the answer is yes, and it would happen in 3 steps. First, you'd need a hypothetical ET scope to scan and read an object's etheric signature out of the field. Then, step 2, you record that complete quantum blueprint, and the key here is that it doesn't disturb the original at all. And then finally, step 3, an ET printer takes that recorded information and reconstructs a perfect atom-for-atom duplicate somewhere else. Now, it's super important to understand this is not teleportation like you see in Star Trek. The original object isn't taken apart and beamed somewhere. It stays exactly where it is, completely untouched. This is all about building a brand new, identical copy from scratch, just using the information that was stored in the ether. It's a direct reconstruction from that quantum blueprint. Okay, so if copying matter wasn't enough for you, the theory then moves on to an even more mind-bending idea, traveling faster than light. We all know the rule, right? Einstein's theory of special relativity is crystal clear. Nothing with mass can travel at the speed of light through spacetime. It's like the ultimate cosmic speed limit. But the Estel theory asks this really clever question. What if you weren't traveling through spacetime at all? And this is a totally different approach from other FTL ideas you might have heard of, like the Alcubov drive. See, the Alcubierre drive is all about warping and bending spacetime itself. The hyperbubble proposed here doesn't even touch spacetime. Instead, the idea is you bend the Estel ether and you travel through that medium, which coexists with ours. It's basically a cheat code, a shortcut. So here's how it would work. The etheric transfer bubble. A spaceship would generate this bubble around itself, but within the Estel ether. Inside that bubble, the ship just isn't bound by the normal speed of light. It's like it's surfing a wave in a totally different ocean, letting it cross huge interstellar distances almost instantly. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, this all sounds pretty speculative. And it is, but the theory doesn't just stop at wild ideas. It actually tries to build a bridge to some of the biggest real-world unanswered questions in physics today. So, for instance, could the gravitational weirdness that we call dark matter actually just be the Estel ether interacting with normal matter? What about tachyons, those theoretical faster-than-light particles? Maybe they do exist, but only inside this etheric medium. The theory basically puts the Estel ether on the table as a candidate to explain these things, suggesting it could be a whole new fundamental field of the universe we've just been missing. And when you look at the full scope of what this theory proposes, it's just staggering. If the Estel ether is real, the implications are just enormous. We're not just talking about copying stuff and FTL travel, we're talking about wireless energy transfer across entire star systems and instantaneous, faster-than-light communication. It would change, well, everything. So that leaves us with this big question. Is the Estel theory just a fascinating thought experiment, pure science fiction, or could it be something more? Maybe like a hypothesis letter sent to the future of science, challenging us to look for reality in places we decided to stop looking a long, long time ago? I guess only the future knows the answer to that.